Couches. All important reviews start with two guys on a couch talking about movies together. Movies. The things you go and see. Either at your local Cineplex or on Netflix. The kind of stuff that studio executives and film directors make. The kind of things that make some parents nervous if they don't know what's in it.
Is that your Batman impression?
This is as best as I can do. I'm no Christian Bale, and nor am I any...
Oh, good for you!
What?
Good for you!
What was that?
Oh, I thought you were going for Christian Bale, so I went for Christian Bale Meltdown.
No, I was trying to go...
Did I get it wrong?
Yeah, you got it way wrong.
Oh, okay.
Good for you! Good for you!
Better?
All right.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first ever Drac Vlog, or not Drac Vlogs, Drac and Shadow Vlogs of 2017. Yay! We finally made it! Cool. Give ourselves a round of applause. There you go. Yay! And so, first of all, I have to address a little bit of business. Yes, I know the top movies of 2016 is not up yet. By the time that this vlog is up, it will be there. It actually fell through the cracks and was sitting in my recorded stuff for forever. So that's what happens when your thing is full and your hard drive's full and there's no place for anybody to put anything or to edit anything.
You are peaking really bad.
Good! All right. Welcome to our first review of 2017, and it is very appropriate for us, Alex, because if you think about it, the first I'm not putting Hobbit in there because we started late in a year. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, our first full year, we started with the Lego Movie. Then our second year, the first couple of movies that we saw was nothing but comedies. I say comedies because I'm still not sure what Hail Caesar was. But then we start things off this year with a comedy.
A comedy that is about Legos and about a man-bat.
And more importantly, about Batman. So welcome to our vlog of the Lego Batman movie. And
could someone tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dresses up as a bat? This town needs an enema.
Why does it need an enema?
I don't know. Ask Joker.
Why did we go to Dracula Dead and Loving It, where everybody, we're basically the head of the insane asylum and just goes around and goes, give him an enema. Give him a feeling of accomplishment. So, first of all, welcome to Drac and Shadow Vlogs, where we talk about a movie and we give our thoughts on it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warn people in advance. If you haven't seen a Drac and Shadow vlog before, here is your spoiler warning. We will be talking about the film. We will be going into at least some level of detail. So if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your point to pause the video. It's okay. If the pause button is hit, we'll wait. But it means we don't have to wait in real life.
No.
So at that point, let's go ahead and get into it. And I don't even know where to begin on this one. Like the Lego movie had more semblance of a plot than this.
Not really. No.
No, the reason I say that is because you could actually describe what was going on, but Lego Batman movie basically, I guess, tried to do an origin story for Lego Batman kind of thing. Because you had the same elements there from a Batman movie. Like, we had the origin of Dick Grayson in there. We had the origin of Barbara Gordon and even Alfred Pennyworth. But I want to say that this is not the origin of Batman. This is the origin of Lego Batman, and what he is doing. And so things basically start off with what else? Every inmate at Arkham Asylum getting broken out by the Joker to go hijack a plane that has a bunch of bombs and C4 and dynamite and all that, just so that they could possibly try and blow up Gotham, only to have Batman come in and stop them.
Yay! Pretty simple Batman plot.
Pretty simple, yeah. And then he goes home, and then we find out the real plot of the film, which is that being Batman is very lonely. but he tries to play it off. He's okay with being alone, right? Actually, this was like the best part of the movie for me because, you know, like we had that whole he saves the day and then he goes home to the Batcave. It's empty. The only person that he's talking to is Computer, affectionately named Pewter, who was played by Siri. That was the best part about that.
Yeah.
No, the best part about that was the password into the Batcave, which was Iron Man sucks. And for the record, Bruce Wayne. Moving on. So you had that alone moment in the cave, which eventually led into him getting out of his outfit alone in the cave, which eventually led into him going and microwaving his lobster thermidor dinner alone, and then going back down alone into the cave on a little bat boat, like a little bat skiff. So in the middle of all of his gadgets, he's eating his lobster thermidor. And then he goes to the Bat Theater to watch romantic comedies alone in the cave. And this is his life. Like, he ends it by going up and brooding over his parents, but it's more along the lines of that he doesn't have a family to call his own. First of all, I'm calling bullshit because he does have family, and it's Alfred. But this is Lego Batman we're talking about. He does not necessarily seeing the bigger picture. And so now we start to deal with the real conflict of Bruce is that, or at least of Lego Bruce, is he doesn't really want to attach himself to people. He doesn't want to feel friendship in the heart of the cards. And by not doing so, he kind of creates this internal problem of not being able to attach to people. So, moving things on, he then goes to the retirement ceremony reluctantly, not as Batman. That was the best part about it, is like, he was okay with going, but he wanted to keep the cowl on, and then Alfred made him take the cowl off, and so he was Bruce Wayne again. And so he goes to the retirement of Commissioner James Gordon, and the induction of his daughter Barbara Gordon into the commissioner spot, where we got a very, very well done video of her resume, of her working on the city of Bloodhaven, and frankly, I'm surprised she survived. But also the fact that she went to Harvard for police. Seriously, this was like an ongoing theme for Barbara Gordon. It was that she went to Harvard for police. And she basically introduces a new plan that Bruce is not entirely happy with, that basically says it takes a village, not a Batman. So basically her plan was she basically took every flaw that Batman has. Like, he's never actually captured a villain. He's never actually, like, he saved the day, but he's never actually captured a villain. He's never made the streets safer. He's never stopped the crime rate. This is still a very nasty city. And so her solution was to work with Batman instead of against him, except now he has the police force behind him, which obviously Batman went, no! I don't want to work with people! But on top of that, Bruce is also being followed around by a young Dick Grayson. And what was Dick actually trying to do? He was trying to figure out how to be a better orphan.
Yeah.
While Bruce had the hots for Barbara. That's where this movie went to, people. It's what I've not wanted to see that since the freaking Killing Joke, man, and then they brought that back. But he goes to meet with, or Dick goes to meet with Bruce to figure out how to be a better orphan. And in turn kind of figures out that through Bruce being starstruck, blissfully ignorant, that he might be in the market for somebody to adopt. And so we find out later that he's been adopted, kind of as Alfred's little subplot of trying to get Bruce to learn the friendship in the heart of the cards. But another big plot thread that I need to attach here is that Joker apparently is now upset after the heist that he pulled off at the beginning of the movie, that Batman does not consider him his worst enemy. They are not in a relationship. That's literally how they're putting this. So Joker's in a slump. and doesn't know how to fix this until he finds out how Superman saved the world from Zod by vanquishing him to the Phantom Zone. So, that sparks an idea in Joker. Joker decides that every Batman villain in Gotham needs to surrender themselves. Pause for effect. Yes, you heard me. Surrender themselves so that Barbara's already winning. She's cleared the crime rate. She's captured every single Batman villain. And Batman's not okay with this because Batman can't be Batman. So he's sad Batman. And then decides that the only way to be able to fix this is to go get the Phantom Zone gun, basically to exile Joker there. And thus uses his new young ward to be able to capture it from Justice League headquarters, where he finds out that, well, the Justice League could give less of a damn about him. And you're starting to see like a theme here that it's like Batman is lonely, but he doesn't want to solve the problem. Because if he solves the problem, then he might have the same thing happen with his parents. So they get the Phantom Zone gun, they exile the Joker there, which means Barbara, since she didn't agree with this, she then imprisons Batman for doing that. And Joker, while in the Phantom Zone, decides to pull out every single villain in the Phantom Zone. Now, when you think that, like, a lot of people, I have a feeling were a little disappointed by this because they wanted, like, when they thought the Phantom Zone, they thought, like, Superman's greatest villains or the Justice League's greatest villains. No, this was basically their backdoor promotion to Lego Dimensions. So you saw the Gremlins, you saw Sauron from Mordor, you saw Voldemort, you saw King Kong, Godzilla, all that stuff, and so then Joker decides to unleash all of them on Gotham, while not giving a crap about the other Batman villains, who he is also upset. Which then but his only demand is, if you want this all to stop, bring me Batman. So they take Batman out of prison. But this time, he has help. Reluctant help. He has Robin. He has Batgirl. And he also has 1966 Batman, a.k.a. Alfred Pennyworth. Which is funny, because when there was actually a moment in the movie where Alfred berated Batman for all of his weird stints, which basically was a way to make fun of all of the movie posters that they've ever had. And then the last one he goes, and then there was that stint in 1966. And they show an actual clip from the Adam West Batman. Old chum. If you don't get that, Lego Batman playthrough. Yeah. So it's a little funny that's the major criticism that Alfred had, and the one Batman suit he picks was the 1966 Batman.
You did say he missed the 60s.
Yeah. And the other part that I also liked was that they tried to show the whole upgrade for Robin from Robin to Nightwing by actually having a Batman costume called Nightwing, which had basically more wings than I've ever seen on a Batman costume. But I will say this. At least it made the disco outfit for Nightwing look good. Moving right along. Big fight ensues, to which Batman has still not learned his lesson and therefore tries to get Alfred and Barbara and Dick to leave. I'm trying to keep everybody in my head. Tries to get them to leave so that he can be alone and he can be the knight. And he hasn't learned friendship in the heart of the cards.
Not yet.
And Joker then confronts him and basically says, yeah, you still haven't learned a damn thing, and locks him up in the Phantom Zone. Where he then gets to see, so through the scanning of the Warden in the Phantom Zone, gets to see every bad action he's done throughout the entire movie, and realized that, well, friendship in the heart of the cards is the way of things. So he then gets out of the Phantom Zone, vowing to bring everybody back in, but this time, he'll do it with help. And the help comes from all of his friends, plus his greatest villain ever. Yeah, I got that far, people. We saw a bromance between the Joker and Batman. And I'm okay with it because it's Lego. And that pretty much kind of wraps things up for the movie. You know, Batman saves the day. and they decide to give the Batman villains a 30-minute head start before they start capturing them again. And that's pretty much the Lego Batman movie. I don't think there's really much to add there. So I know that we went through the plot as simply as we could, but
It's a pretty simple story.
It really is. Alex, what did you like about the Lego Batman movie?
It's the Lego movie again. If you saw the Lego movie,
Yeah.
I don't want to say you saw the Lego Batman movie.
I'm almost kind of surprised with the relationship issues. We didn't bring up the girl from Lego Movie and how she basically abandoned Batman too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised we didn't bring that up.
I guess this takes place before the Lego movie or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
If you can call this having any kind of continuity, I don't think so.
Well, like I was saying in the car on the way home, I have a feeling this is like a backdoor into a Lego universe, a Lego verse. That we're going to get a Lego cinematic universe and all the variations
Probably
of it.
so.
Because here's the two primary factors. We had the Lego movie. We also had the Lego Batman movie. But they also had a trailer attached to this that was set for September, and it was the Lego Ninjago movie, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's a series that was actually on Cartoon Network, and it was actually a series of Legos that was trying to bring back the samurai Legos again, but this time with a little bit more of a Traveler's Tales kind of flair. It's not the greatest thing ever. I'm not actually a big fan of Ninjago. This movie trailer looked interesting in parts, but it's not entirely there. But I can start to see like the makings of a Legoverse, all of which will occur within Will Ferrell's basement.
Let's hope so.
That's actually the one part I expected to come back was Will Ferrell's basement when they were trying to destroy Gotham, and we didn't see that exactly.
It makes sense because I don't.
Yeah,
Because I wouldn't call this like if there's going to become a series of the Lego movies, I wouldn't call this like a main series entry.
no, this is just going to be one of those side entries, and the main entries would be the ones where we break the fourth wall and we have all of the worlds meet. But definitely, like this was a prop for Lego Dimensions because all of the villains in the Phantom Zone were anything but like DC or Superman villains. They were all just
all Warner Brother properties.
Yeah, aptly enough, all Warner Brothers properties. But it was all like other Lego series other than DC. They tried very hard to stay away from DC, and that was like a disappointing aspect for me. It would have been cool to have that stuff, but also showcase the DC villains.
Yeah,
and no.
Yeah, I'm not sure we really needed the whole Warner villain showcase here. As much as fun as it was to see Lego Lord Voldemort and Lego King Kong.
Voldemort was an interesting reference, but King Kong and Godzilla were kind of weird. And Mordor, or Sauron, was very, very weird. Especially with what they basically did with him, was he was basically a glorified, I'm going to spy on everybody and make sure our plan's going according to plan.
Well, that was kind of... Yeah, that makes sense. It's Sauron. He's the big eye, so he sees all.
Yeah. Well, and the other problem that I had with it was, like, Joker was trying to tell him what he could and couldn't do. And so he was like, I will let the streets run red with the blood of... Oh, no. We don't do blood here. Can we do lava? Yes. Yeah, we can do lots of lava. Okay, we can do lava.
Lava.
But that's the problem, is like it was all Warner Brothers properties instead of like actual DC villains. And I'm not saying you couldn't do those properties, but you also needed to throw in some DC stuff. You needed something for us all to look forward to. Because here's the thing, when Justice League and Wonder Woman happen, we're expecting Lego variations of these movies now. So other things that you liked about it?
I liked all the Bat jokes. I liked all the references to other Batman properties. Of all the movies got referenced in some way.
I'm kind of there too. I liked a lot of the Bat references. Some of them were vague and reference to like something in Batman history, but then there was other ones that were just outright, this is Lego Batman, and we're completely okay with it.
Yeah, because there was a great joke. I think it was like either it was the pilot or it was a security guard saying like when Joker's talking about like his master plan and like somebody says just like the parade and the Prince music.
Yeah, exactly. Like because I mean, the bottom line is I actually like that moment because Joker's looking at him and he's got a plan, and this is where they broke the fourth wall, going, well, but seriously, every plan you've ever come up with, Batman has foiled. But he didn't do this one. And the best part of the joke was like the first thing that they do that is unpredictable is that he had Eggman. Literally, that's what his name was, not Sonic Eggman.
Not Sonic Eggman.
But he had him egg the bat signal so that we couldn't signal Batman. And at that point, that was when the pilot went, "You've thought of everything!"
Yeah.
Oh, so you egged the bat signal. That's the only thing you didn't think of. Well done, Joker. Let's give a round of applause for Joker. He thought about actually blocking off the bat signal.
Yeah, and the Penguin had the big duck boat from Batman Returns, which is nice. So.
The other part I will admit that I did like that was a Batman reference was the fact that I'm not saying Jim Gordon doesn't do things in the comics, but one of the major criticisms that gets thrown at him is that here's his importance in the Batman comics. He flips the bat signal on, and there you go.
Right.
And so they basically relegated his importance down to a button that he carries around that signals Batman, and then he's good.
Yeah.
Which is even better because that actually goes into the whole friendship of the heart of the cards thing. We eventually have different bat signals for Batgirl, for Robin, for Alfred Batman. I don't know what else to call him. Yeah. And then he even does one for all of the Batman villains.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. That and I love it. Every time he hit it was like click, 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 click.
When he brought up the whole kind of throwaway villains like Kite Man and such, that just made me think back to an episode of Game Grumps where I think it was Danny who started talking about like a list he saw of the worst Batman villains ever. And
here's the thing, like Batman's not the only one that has them. There's a bunch of throwaway villains in all these heroes canons.
Sure, but I just thought it was funny to see all the throwaway Batman villains. Like Kite Man. Yeah,
these were things. So at that point, I'll admit, I did like that they went that far into his menagerie to find just the silliest villains ever and be able to give them Lego form. Especially since that, I'm glad and all that they brought in Freeze and Scarecrow and all that, but there are just some villains in the Batman universe that wouldn't work in Lego format. So they found the sillier ones that were like from the 60s and 70s and used them.
I think you mean in live action format? Because why wouldn't they work in Lego format? Unless you just mean like Lego toys.
No, I'm talking comics. Like they found old, like a lot of that stuff, Kite Man and things like that. These were villains at one point that were in Batman's menagerie that failed horribly, and you never heard from them again.
Yeah.
So at that point, the fact that they dug so far into the comics, and these were like gold and silver age, so 60s and 70s, they dug that far back to find some of the silliest villains that they could ever find in the Batman universe and use them because they are perfect for a Lego movie.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So my stuff that I like, because I'm sure I think that pretty much wrapped up for you.
Yeah.
Stuff I liked about this movie, I loved a lot of the Batman jokes. I especially loved the mopey kid attitude that he would always have if he had to go do something that wasn't Batman. So like the perfect example is when Alfred's confronting him in the mansion and he says you have to go to the retirement. And you literally have like a solid minute of no, and he's just flopping all around. And he then gets into the temper position. And the way that Alfred gets him out of it is they go into like tuxedo party mode, and he gets to pick a tux. But he's still not done because they got to get the cowl off, and Batman's not happy about that either. So I love the fact that we got the Batman that we did, very mopey, like taking all of the dark stuff, dark and brooding stuff, and just making fun of it all. And basically making him a, angsty teen. That's what he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that part. Like I said, I love the opening sequence where he's, all of the moments in the cave where, this is his satisfying day. Like everybody thinks he's having an endless party with strippers and all that stuff. And he goes home. He's alone. He eats his lobster thermidor. He watches Jerry Maguire. Literally, they had Jerry Maguire up on the screen. And that's it for him. That's all he needs. So I like that. The other major piece that I did like was when we did integrate Robin into it. Like, I thought we were really going to go down the line of... Because here's the thing. This movie referenced the 60s Batman more than it wants to admit it did.
I don't think it has any shame in admitting
Well,
it.
in the fact that the Robin that it had there did not want to wear pants. Yeah, that's just, yeah.
Yeah, he wore the tights.
Yeah, he wore the tights instead. And so at that point, I loved what they did with Robin, where he was basically the perfect sidekick. And occasionally Batman would have to admit this, but then he would pull it back and just go, no, that's not passable, kind of thing. Really, the spotlight of this movie was Batman.
Yeah.
And it needed to be, especially since this is the Lego movie version of Batman, that is whiny, mopey, emo, and all that stuff. But I think that they told a story well enough while shaping things around the Bat jokes that it worked well. I will admit the other favorite joke that I had was that they actually justified the balloons in the 60s Batman. We're going to hit these people so hard that it's going to make sounds that will appear right next to them. And thus we were like, oh my gosh, are we going to get a Lego Kapow? Kapow! So, yeah. I'm very happy about that one. Things you didn't like about the movie, Alex?
I'm really with you. I wanted to see more of the DC Rogues Gallery instead of the expanded Warner Brothers universe.
And you could have shaped that around the Joker. You really could.
Yeah, I think they should have either do more DC villains or Batman, or just stick with the Batman villains.
In fact, wouldn't one of the perfect references have been if Lex Luthor appeared and it was the Lex Luthor from Batman v Superman that's just Joker?
Yeah.
But Lex Luthor? That would have been hilarious, because then you would have had Joker bouncing off of this.
Yeah. Yeah, we should have had Lex Luthor.
Yeah. And we didn't. And that's the part that's disappointing to me, is like they have the DC license. Warner Brothers and Traveler's Tales makes the Lego Batman games. So at that point, you have so many villains that you could go into and so many heroes you could go into, and we didn't utilize that. Instead, this felt like a walking commercial for Lego Dimensions. Mm-hmm. Because every single thing that they put out there, aside from maybe Lord of the Rings, has been done as a Lego Dimensions set. I'm surprised we didn't have the DeLorean with Doc and Marty and the Ghostbusters come out, kind of thing, because those are big advertisements for Lego Dimensions.
Well, that'd make more sense in a standard Lego movie, not in the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah, but then at that point, at that point, my justification is that why was this advertising Lego Dimensions at all? Why didn't it just stick with a Lego DC universe?
Yeah,
and thus, if you're going to have an expanding Lego verse, then all the DC stuff is at this table, kind of thing. That would have made more sense. I'm okay with putting out Voldemort. That was fine, especially since we found out that Ray Fiennes played Alfred.
Yeah.
So it's like, sure, why not? Have Voldemort come out and make a bunch of Harry Potter jokes. I'm okay. Because I don't have a problem with you trying to basically say that, Voldemort got misplaced on the DC set. I'm okay with it. But yeah, this needed more DC star power. It really did.
Yeah. Again, it would have been fine again if this was a regular standard Lego movie like the first one.
Yeah.
Right. Then it'd be fine to have all this mix and matching. But I think for a Lego Batman movie, you should have stuck to either Batman villains or DC villains.
Exactly. Which they did. I mean, they stuck with the Batman villains really, really well, but then when you brought in the Phantom Zone, the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds is, oh my gosh, they're going to make fun of every villain. They're going to make fun of all the DC villains, and that didn't happen. Which, here's the thing, we just barely had the flop of Batman v Superman. Are you telling me there's nothing to make fun of there?
Well, yeah, I mean, in fairness, you gotta assume this probably took about 2 years or so to make, 2 to 3 years, because it's animated.
Are you telling me that these people didn't have inside knowledge? Because for crying out loud, they made Batman v Superman jokes.
I wouldn't think so. I really wouldn't.
Which
think
at
so.
that point is sad. They should have.
I'm sure, because big movies like that usually are kept under very strict gag orders, very strict silence, non-disclosure.
Yeah,
agreements.
but it's technically been done before, where other movie makers are brought in because they know what they're doing. So at that point, wouldn't it have been awesome to bring in the people who are doing Lego Batman to do a Lego Doomsday?
Yeah,
that would have been hilarious.
I'm sure it would have been nice, but I can see why it didn't happen. Just because like I said, this movie probably has been in production for about 2 to 3 years, maybe even more, maybe even 4 years.
Yeah,
it's just so, and I know movie sets and movie details and plots are kept very, very on big movies like Batman v Superman, they're going to be kept under very tight lock and key by Warner Brothers and DC because they don't want that. The more people that know something, then the more likely it's going to get out. So I can kind of see why they would avoid it.
I can see that too, but again, my justification stands. This would have been a lot better because, I mean, here's the thing. Marvel didn't have a problem with that. Marvel made fun of themselves all over the place, which means that they actually had like non-disclosure agreements signed from fellow directors, not only to maintain the continuity, but also to also give some level of parody for it.
Well, that's because Marvel knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and unfortunately Warner Bros. Doesn't. So, but here, my other major complaint is I'm not entirely on board with the voice cast for Lego Batman.
I didn't have a problem with them.
I didn't have a problem with Will Arnett. Like I told you, my major beef is with Zach Galifianakis as Joker. This is actually a point where I almost want to say Jared Leto should have played Lego Joker because of how over the top he got in Suicide Squad. This would have been perfect for him. This would have been able to let him get all of his over the top nonsense out before he did a serious Suicide Squad movie. And I'm not saying that Jared Leto should be cast. I don't know honestly who I would cast, but Zach Galifianakis is not it. I'm not on board with him. Will Arnett as Batman, I believe he did play him in the Lego movie. He sounded very similar. So I'm okay with that one. Ray Fiennes as Alfred, by all means. And pour on the British references. I can't remember who played Robin, but I was kind of okay with that. And Rosario Dawson, I was okay with Barbara. My main complaint was that I feel it was kind of a missed opportunity to bring in like Jared Leto and give him a little bit more cred as Joker. Mm-hmm. And I just think that was a missed opportunity. So
I'm guessing again. It's just it's a matter of time
Or even better, like if you want to, since Lego Movie made fun of this fact, the villain was played by Will Ferrell. Why not have Joker played by Will Ferrell? Like Will Ferrell's just the overall villain of his Lego universe.
Yeah. They should have had Will Ferrell would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. That would have been the way to go. So I'm like 50-50 with the cast overall.
Jared Leto is probably stretched just because, like I said, timing on this probably predates even Suicide Squad's development before Jared Leto got cast. Because, in animation, they do all the, at least here in America, they do all the voiceover stuff first, so, and then they sync the animation to it, so.
Yeah.
Yep, just given the time, I imagine this probably would have been done well before Jared Leto was so much as even a forethought as Joker, so that's probably why.
So at that point, that's pretty much my beefs with the movie. I liked it overall. Yeah, I just had a problem with lack of DC properties, and I also wasn't entirely on board with the cast. Mm-hmm. So with that, if you were to give this thing a final score, what would you give it, Alex?
I'd give it 8.5. It's a solid B+ to A- in my book.
Okay. I'm gonna give it an 8 because there were a couple of times where I'm not saying that the jokes got stale or anything like that, but the point between the jokes, because remember, like with the Lego Movie, we were hammered back and forth, what jokes left and right. There were actually a couple of quiet moments in this movie, and I wasn't disappointed, but I really did feel like in between that I was like, you could have put a joke in here and it would have been fine. It would have been perfectly fine. So I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's a solid B+ kind of movie. With that also, if you were to advise people on how much money to spend on the Lego Batman movie, how much would you advise them to spend, Alex?
Definitely worth price of any admission. I can't comment on 3D because we saw it in standard 2D. Mm-hmm. It might look fun in 3D because it is Legos and it's building blocks and everything. So maybe give 3D a chance, and if you see it, let us know how it is in 3D.
At the very most, because I'm not usually a 3D guy, but when CG demands, I actually say you should do it. This would be one of those where I would kind of question that. At the very least, I would say you could do primetime on this one and be okay. And if you wanted to do something bigger than that, I don't know if I would go 3D, like going IMAX or something like that, like a bigger screen. I think you'd be okay, but I don't know if I could justify 3D on this one. But I think that's gonna go ahead and do it for our review of the Lego Batman movie. So the next review that we have actually is not going to be with us because, well, March is quickly approaching.
Yes, it is.
So the next two movies, you will not be getting a Draken Shadow vlog on, but instead you will be getting a Geek News bonus episode or a group review for Power Rangers and for Ghost in the Shell. It's time, Alex.
It's time.
We've talked about them enough. It's time for us to actually go and see them.
Yep.
So we will see you guys then, and here's hoping that we're walking into some awesome movies.